Kolyma, Soviet Far East, 1937. The man made a mistake. It was small. During roll call, exhausted and half frozen, he answered a second too late. His voice came after the others. Not loudly, not in protest, just late. The guard noticed. No warning followed. The guard struck him once, then again. Others joined. The man fell, tried to rise, fell again. They beat him again, and again, and again. No one moved to help. No one looked away. Everyone understood the lesson being taught. That morning, Varlam Shalamov learned that in Kolyma, even hesitation was a crime, and violence did not require anger, only permission. His name was Varlam Shalamov. He survived 17 years in Kolyma, one of Stalin's most brutal labor camps. This is his story, not because it brings peace to tell it, but because silence would be complicity. Moscow, 1937. Shalamov was arrested for a sentence, not his own, Lenin's. A single line he had quoted that no longer aligned with Stalin's version of truth. That was enough. There was no trial, only paperwork. The charge, anti-Soviet agitation. The sentence, 5 years of corrective labor. 5 years, they told him. He would serve 17. The train journey took weeks. Shalamov would later say he couldn't remember all of it. Pain, he learned, has a way of making time irrelevant. The prisoners were packed so tightly into cattle cars that they slept sitting upright, shoulder to shoulder with strangers who would soon be dead. There was no heat. In winter, the walls frosted over from the inside. Men urinated where they sat because there was nowhere else to go. The stench became normal within days. At the stations, guards dragged bodies out by the ankles. The living learned not to look, not to ask who they were, not to wonder if they would be next. They learned silence quickly. Shalamov remembered thinking, this cannot be real. This cannot be Russia. This cannot be what revolution becomes. But it was. And silence meant he might see tomorrow. From trains came ships across the Pacific. Men were packed into holds designed for cargo. The ships rocked violently. Many became sick. There were no buckets, no sanitation. The smell of vomit and waste mixed with salt water. From ships came trucks over frozen roads that barely existed. And then came walking. Miles and miles through forests that looked like graveyards. And then, Kolyma. Not a place, a condition. The first thing Shalamov noticed was the cold. Not the cold of Moscow winters. Something else. Something that penetrated bone. 40 degrees below zero was common. 50 was not unusual. At 60 below, breath froze in the air and fell as ice crystals. The guards told them the rules once, only once. You will work 12 hours, sometimes 14, sometimes 16. You will meet your quota or you will be punished. You will not complain. You will not rest unless ordered. You will not steal. You will not speak unless spoken to. Anyone who cannot work will not eat. Anyone who cannot eat will not work. The logic was perfect. The logic was death. Shalamov was assigned to the gold mines. This was considered the worst placement. The mines were where men went to disappear. The work was simple. Break frozen earth with pickaxes. Move rocks. Fill carts. Do this until you collapse or until the shift ends. The earth was frozen solid. 6 feet down, it was like striking concrete. The pickaxes shattered. The men's hands shattered too. Within the first week, Shalamov watched a man's fingers freeze to his tool. When the guard yanked it away, 3 fingers came with it. The man screamed. The guard struck him for making noise. He bled into the snow. The snow turned red, then pink, then white again as fresh snow fell. No one helped him. Helping was visible. Kolyma was not chaos. It was order. Perfect, murderous order. Every rule was simple. Work or die. Slow down or die. Get sick or die. The guards didn't need to hate the prisoners. They only needed their compliance. Food was calculated with precision. Calories matched output. Those who met their quota received 700 grams of bread. Those who didn't received 400. Those who were too weak to work received 300. One morning, a man named Zaitsev collapsed during roll call. He simply fell forward into the snow. The guard walked over and kicked him. Zaitsev didn't move. The guard kicked him again. Harder. Still nothing. The guard ordered 2 prisoners to drag him to the medical barracks. They dragged him by his arms. His head bounced against frozen ground. He left a trail in the snow. He died that afternoon. His body was stacked with the others behind the barracks. In winter, the ground was too frozen to dig graves. Bodies accumulated. By spring, there would be hundreds. Shalamov came to understand something crucial. The cruelty was not exceptional. It was routine, predictable, bureaucratic. A guard who struck a prisoner was not being cruel. He was being correct. Punishment was systematic. If a prisoner's quota was short, he was beaten. 10 blows with a wooden baton. Always 10. Always the same guard. Always in the same place, the lower back and kidneys. Men urinated blood for days afterward. Some never recovered. If a prisoner was caught stealing bread, even a crumb, the punishment was a month in the punishment cell. The punishment cell was an unheated hole in the ground. Prisoners were given no coat, no blanket. 100 grams of bread every 3 days. There were children in Kolyma, teenagers, some barely boys. Most were guilty of nothing. Sons of arrested fathers, daughters of disappeared mothers, orphans created by signatures on paper. They worked slower. Their hands were smaller. Their bodies couldn't endure what the men could barely endure. Shalamov watched a boy, maybe 14, beaten because he dropped a tool. The guard used his rifle butt. 3 blows to the stomach. The boy doubled over, vomiting into the snow. He was ordered to stand. He couldn't. The guard kicked him in the ribs. Shalamov heard them crack. The boy was dragged back to the barracks. He died 2 days later, coughing blood. One morning, Shalamov counted 11 frozen bodies lined up outside the barracks. By evening, there were 18. This was January. This was normal. The worst part wasn't the cold, it was the thaw. In spring, when the ground finally softened, they dug mass graves. Huge pits, 20 feet deep. Bodies were thrown in without ceremony, without names, without count, hundreds at a time. Shalamov helped dig those graves. He helped throw in those bodies. Some of them were men he'd known. Most were strangers. After a while, it didn't matter. They all looked the same. Gray skin, hollow eyes, mouths frozen open. Before Kolyma, Shalamov believed in ideas, in progress, in the perfectibility of man. Kolyma destroyed those beliefs efficiently. He saw men trade bread for silence, saw friendships dissolve over a pair of gloves, saw loyalty become a death sentence. He saw a man kill another man for a bowl of soup, smashed his head with a rock while he slept, ate the soup, went back to work. No one reported it. Reporting meant attention. Attention meant danger. The camps didn't turn people into monsters. They made goodness incompatible with survival. Shalamov learned to steal. Small things. A piece of bread left unguarded. A warmer spot near the stove. An extra moment of rest. He learned to lie. To exaggerate illness to get lighter work. To to fake strength when he had none, to tell guards what they wanted to hear. He learned to disappear, to avoid eye contact, to blend into crowds, to become forgettable. Morality became a luxury. Honor became suicide. Compassion became a weakness that would kill you. He watched good men die because they shared food. Watched strong men die because they stood up for others. Watched brave men die because they refused to betray their principles. Shalamov was not good. Not strong, not brave. He was small, quiet, invisible. That's why he survived. Illness eventually saved him. Dysentery, ironically, gave him value. He was transferred to the medical barracks, given lighter work, a clerk's position, a margin of warmth. It wasn't luck. It was adaptation. He had learned to be useful in ways that didn't require strength. The clerk's position meant he processed paperwork, death certificates, transfer orders, ration allocations. He saw the numbers, the scale of it, thousands of names, thousands of deaths, columns of statistics that represented erased lives. He kept his head down. He processed the papers. He survived. In 1953, Stalin died. Slowly, the camps loosened, then opened, then denied what they had been. Shalamov was released in 1956, 17 years after his arrest. Freedom did not restore him. You cannot restore what no longer exists. He lived in poverty in Moscow. He wrote, compulsively, obsessively, as if writing could exorcise what he'd seen. His stories were rejected. Too dark, they said. Too hopeless. Not uplifting. Not in line with socialist realism. He wrote anyway. His Kolyma tales described the camps without redemption, without meaning, without the lie that suffering purifies or builds character. He wrote that the camps were not schools. They were slaughterhouses. They didn't educate. They erased. He wrote that survival was not heroic. It was random, cruel, often cowardly. People didn't want to hear this. The Soviet authorities censored him. His work circulated in samizdat, underground, illegal copies passed hand to hand. People asked him, "How did you survive?" As if survival was a victory, as if endurance was triumph. He survived because others died, because he was lucky, because he learned to be small, because he abandoned every principle he'd once held. There is no virtue in that, he would say. Only fact. Shalamov never believed survival was a victory. He believed it was a responsibility. To remember, to testify, to refuse the lie that cruelty is necessary, that suffering ennobles, that the camps served any purpose but death. Later, Shalamov would write, "Suffering does not make you better. It makes you weaker. The camps were not schools of courage, they were factories of death." He wrote, "I learned nothing useful in Kolyma. I lost everything worth having." He wrote, "Do not believe anyone who tells you suffering has meaning. It doesn't. It only destroys." Kolyma no longer exists as it once did. The camps are ruins now, tourist destinations, historical footnotes. But systems still exist where hesitation is punished, silence is rewarded, and violence requires only permission. Evil does not always arrive shouting. Sometimes it arrives organized, stamped, approved, with forms to fill out and quotas to meet. And when it does, survival may be possible, but innocence is not. Varlam Shalamov survived Kolyma for 17 years. He told his story not because he wanted to, but because someone had to. He died in 1982, alone in a nursing home, blind and forgotten. His Kolyma tales were not published in full in Russia until 1988, 6 years after his death. It is estimated that over 1 million people died in Kolyma. Shalamov was one of the few who lived to tell what happened there. This was his testimony. May we never forget what happens when cruelty becomes policy, when violence becomes routine, when humans are reduced to numbers on a page. May we never forget Kolyma.